Okay, we are going to show you tonight how to do 3 different types of challah rolls. Jan Gorbin, who is Rabbi Gorbin's mom, is going to show us how to do a 6 braided challah. And I am so excited because I don't know how to do that. And everyone in the Great Temple Sinai Bake Off, every single one of the contestants did a 6 strand braid. Like, I didn't know that was a thing. So, and then I am going to show you how to do 2 quick round challahs.
Great.
Stuffed. And then Joanna is going to show us how to do something fancy. So that is the plan here. And I am going to just turn it over to Jan now. Thanks so much for agreeing to do that.
My husband's very excited that he's like, you're doing a cooking class because I don't cook. But I've learned since I've been with Karen to do some cooking. Anyway, so I decided that it would be easier if I showed you how to do a 6 braided challah using pillowcases. It doesn't taste as good as our challah, but it's easy to show you and take apart and put back together. So I just have them, so you have the 6 strands, you sort of connect them at the top and push them under. And then I set it up as 3 and 3. And I take the top 2 and I cross them over. And I think it's easier if you think of it as the 2 that are crossed over are perpendicular to everything and they're straight out. So now you take one of them and it's the one that is underneath and you put it down the middle. But now I have too many on this side. So I have to take this one and make it perpendicular and have it spread out like that. Okay, so that's good. Now I take this one, bring it down the middle. Too many on this side, so I have to make it.
Oh, that's not hard.
Yeah, now everybody knows the secret. Then we take the one that's over to the side, put it down the middle. And then I got too many on this side, so I need to make this one perpendicular. Then I take this down the middle and make it perpendicular. Take it down the middle, make it perpendicular. And then when you get to the end and you don't really have any more, you sort of bunch them all together and fold them underneath, and there's your challah.
That's so logical.
So Jan, when you did that, you sort of halfway through, you were pulling them pretty tight. Is that what you do with the dough as well?
Well, I do that to make sure that they come out more even. Otherwise, if you don't pull them tighter, then they go off to the side. And if you look at my challahs, some of them do go off to the side and then they come back.
Okay, can you redo that because I was busy rolling my rolls. So
okay, so I take one
6
over and the other one over and they are straight out to the sides.
Okay, got that.
Okay, we take the one, I'm gonna stay on my left and I bring it down to the middle, but now I don't have one over here. So I have to take this one because this one's already out to the side and I'm pulling it up and make them. Now I have 2. Okay, but now I have to bring this one to the middle, but I don't have one over here. So I have to bring this off to the side. Now I repeat that. This goes down the middle. I don't have one over here, so I have to bring this one over to the side. And
that one's underneath, okay.
So do you weigh your strands so they'll be more even, or you just sort of divide them as best you can?
I have to make, so my challahs are pretty small because I have to make, Karen said I had to have 2. So that you're.
One
supposed
for
to
you,
have-
Ball, and one for the rest of you?
Well, it is pretty much one for you, Vaughn, one.
I was gonna say, he could care if it's 4 braided, 6 braided,
He just
round.
wants it, and when he sees it, he starts going. "Bochum." It's so funny. He doesn't say any words, but all is bochum.
Great.
Well, that's
So,
great.
I think that's the easiest way to explain it. I was listening to some of the YouTube things and they're like, oh, and the second one's over here and bring the second. I'm like, no, just put them out, perpendicular and then braid. That way.
Okay. Anyone have any questions for Jan?
Mm-mm.
Do you
I
put
have one
it on a
quick
pan?
question.
Yeah.
You put it
Can
on
you
a pan
show us what the
before?
top? Oh, go ahead.
Okay, everybody, could everybody mute themselves and then just unmute yourself if you have a question? Okay, go ahead, whoever was asking that question.
Well, I had
I
a
had a-
question.
Question. Can you show us at the top, how did you start it?
Okay, so I have the 6 strands and I pinch them together, okay, so that they stick.
Okay.
And then you take one side, the 2 strands at either side, I cross them over and I put them out perpendicular to the others. And then I take the one that is over. So if you can see this, this is somewhat over this one. This one's underneath that. Can you see that this one is underneath?
Mhm.
there?
Right.
So I'm gonna take the one that's on top and bring it down. And then again, I don't have one over here, so I have to bring this one over. And then I take the one that is on top, put it down the middle, and then I need another one to be perpendicular. And then down the middle, and then I need one to be perpendicular. Down the middle, one to be perpendicular. Am I going too fast?
No, I think you're good.
Okay. Then one down. And then straighten them out.
Okay.
So then do you just put it freeform on a pan or do you put it in a loaf pan?
I don't put it in any pan. I just put it on a silicone sheet on top of a cookie sheet.
Cookie sheet. Okay, thanks.
And I do 2 washes, 2 egg washes. And I always put raisins in mine and I plump the raisins while I'm making the dough.
Okay. Anybody got any other questions for her? Okay. Thank you. That was awesome. And this is recorded. Tammy will put it up on the website. So next time you want to make challah with the 6 strands, you can open this up and watch Jan do it again and be able to follow along. Thank you. Using the pillowcases was a great idea because then you could do it multiple times. So
And
that was very, very cool.
I don't bake and I've never attempted challah, but seeing the way that you do that and it looks so easy, I may have to.
Listen, as I said earlier, I don't cook. For the last 1.5 years, I've had to cook, but if I can do this, anybody can do it.
I cook, but I don't bake because I'm not good with measuring, but
The thing about, I find with the challah and maybe somebody else, I mean, that's why I'm a little concerned about putting it in a bread machine. It's like, I feel when it's enough, especially with the raisins that you plump, because now it's got more water in it. So I need to feel how much extra flour I might need.
Mhm.
So I start with 3 cups but maybe. 3.
Right, exactly. You need to be careful of that extra water. Tanya, I'm going to make you co-host while I'm doing mine in case anybody else joins. You can let them in. Is that all right?
No problem.
Thank you. Okay. So you're going to see my hands in a second.
I have a question before we go there. How do we unpin?
You should click it again. Just click that pin.
Click the pin.
So you should see a pin on the person's, or you can just go to the next person and pin them.
Okay.
Mine said unpin up in the top left-hand corner.
Oh, nice. Oh, look.
Okay.
I'm on an iPad and I had to just tap the picture and then it asked me if I wanted to remove the pin.
Oh, nice.
Okay. Here's my dough. I put the recipe that I used in the chat. This is the recipe from the woman who taught the class that I took on Nosher. It is the nicest challah dough that I've ever worked with. And it's really easy to make. So the recipe makes 2 challahs, and I am going to weigh it and divide it in half. So I'm going to turn my scale on first. Okay, so this is, I'm going to move it to pounds. It's easier. So it is 2 pounds, 8 ounces. I'm just going to guess. So I'm going to want it to, each one to be about 1 pound. Not bad. Good guessing. Okay, then I'm making 2 different ones. So my first one's going to use this whole piece, and because it's so big, I'm going to just make it into a nice round circle here, and I'm going to let it rest. Both of them should rest, bench rest here for about 15-20 minutes, but we don't have that kind of time, so it won't. And then I just put a little bit of plastic over it. Now, the second one is going to use 2 strands. So again, I'm going to use my weigh, and I'm going to, now I need each one to be about 1/2 pound, a little bit more. So they're each going to be about 10 ounces. So I'm just going to take a little bit off so that they're even. You want to weigh them because you want the strands to be equal to each other. I'm going to take one of them because I'm going to only roll out one at a time and put it under the plastic. The reason you bench rest it is that your dough will become more and more flexible if you do that. Then I'm going to use my rolling pin, and I am going to roll this out. So here is a challah maker's best friend is your ruler. And this is not a kitchen ruler, as you can see. It's an M&M ruler. And so it doesn't really matter. The woman who I took the class from was using a tape measure. And we're going to roll this out into a rectangle that is about 8 inches long and 4 inches wide. It's actually going to be longer than that, I think. So yeah, it's 12 inches by 6 inches. And you try to get it so that you can get that it's somewhat even on all sides, but it doesn't really matter. The nice thing about challah dough is it's very flexible. I'm going to make a sweet challah and a savory challah. So this is going to be my savory one. So I have basil. I have basil pesto. You could put anything in challah as long as it's not too wet. Like you don't want to put necessarily fresh apples in, but you could put dried apples in. You can put, I made one the other night to experiment with, and it had feta cheese and za'atar and something else in it. You want to leave, which I didn't do, about a half of an inch on all sides. You want to make this pretty even so that it can be, it will be in throughout it. And then I cut up the feta so it's pretty small. Because when I did it the other night and I had big feta, it started to come out of the sides. So do that. And then you're just going to start on one side and pinch it and roll it so that you get a full roll. And when you get to your end here and you see the seam, pinch that seam together. And see, this is why I shouldn't have gone all the way to the edge with the pesto, because it's starting to, I'm having trouble sealing it because I didn't, because it's coming out there. You get any air holes like this, just pop them. That's not a problem. And then once you do that, then we're going to roll it. See, and it's not, you're going to get the real thing here of how it's flexible because I messed up. So you're going to now roll this out using the palm of your hands so that we want to try to get it to be 24 inches long. Right, and you see, because it didn't rest, do you see how when I rolled it, it is squinching back up? Can you guys see enough? It squinches back up. If I had bench rested it longer, it wouldn't do that. Okay, so right now it's about 18 inches. I would like it to be a little longer, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it to be any much longer. Okay, so now I'm going to take that and I'm going to put it underneath my plastic, and I'm going to get my other one, and I'm going to do the exact same thing as fast as I can so that I can show you how to, it's called the Two Strand Braid, and it makes a very pretty strand round, or I did it Friday night and I didn't even make it round. So again, this is the same length as the other one. I'm going to spread the pesto on. This time I'm not going to put it all the way to the edge because, you know, I do learn from my mistakes. Put the feta on. And again, just roll it up here as tight as you can. And then again, pinch that edge together and roll it out using the palm of your hands, working from the middle out. So you're putting your hands in the middle and you're working them out. It's the nicest way to get, and you can see because we bench rested this one, that it is not retracting nearly as much as the other one did. Okay, I want them to be the same length. You can see on this one that it's starting to come through the seams. That's okay. Just pinch it in, pinch your ends together here. And then you're going to take a weight. I want to do this so you guys can see it. You're going to take a weight like your cutter and put it at the top. Push the two strands together and then have it weight down so it doesn't move. And then we're just going to flip it. We're just going to go woo, woo, woo. Just round and round and round and round.
Do we have to make that noise when we do it?
Yes, absolutely.
Woo!
And you saw that my top came undone, so I just redid it. So you end up with this, which you could just do like this. And this is what that ended up looking like. Well, we ate half of it for Friday night dinner, so you're only getting to see half of it. But it came out like that. And you can see the za'atar and the feta are woven throughout it. To make it round, you want to take one of these ends and roll it out so it's really thin. And you're going to start at the other end and just weave it around each other. Don't make it too tight because it's still going to rise for, another rise. So we don't want to make it too tight. We want to leave room for it to rise. And then you can use this little end and stick it underneath. And then you end up with this really pretty round challah. And then I just move it to my baking sheet. And I have invested in, these are proofing bags. For those of you who watch the Great British Baking Show, they might have proofing bags. These are, you can get them on Amazon, or you can get them from me for that matter, because it comes in like 100 pack, and that's too many for me to ever really use. But then you just do this, and it really helps with that last rise. So
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So I found that when I was baking my round challahs for the holidays, that they were much drier, like it cooked faster than the other. Does anybody else have that issue? No,
I did not have that issue. They still cooked exactly the amount of time, but you can use an internal thermometer if you have one to check it so that you don't over bake it. And I have done that before.
It's okay, I'm on mute.
I do tend to burn the bottom of my challahs a lot. Richard's just learned to cut off the bottom. I think it's my cookie sheets. Okay, now we're gonna, unless anybody has any other questions, I'm gonna show you how to do the other one, which is almost exactly the same, except that now we are using one big, huge chunk of dough. And so we want to roll this out into our rectangle to be 15 to 17 inches long and 9 inches wide.
Are these shapings in that link you sent, or is that just for the recipe?
Sorry?
Are these shapings that you're doing and what you're adding to stuffing them with in that link for the recipe, or is the link just for the recipe, not how to shape it?
It doesn't have really information how to shape it. when I finish, I will put the link in to her whole video, which is just fascinating if you would like to see that.
Okay, great.
And you will see, you know, she's a real professional, so, you know, and I am not. So this is 15 inches. It's only 7 inches wide, so we're gonna make it a little bit wider here. And this one, I'm gonna put raisins in that I soaked in orange juice. It just gives it a little bit of flavor. But you want to sort of make sure as you lay them out, like we were talking about before, that you squeeze out as much of the liquid as you can. And again, keep it, you want a lot of raisins because you want it to be all the way through your challah, but you want to keep it a half of an inch to an inch from the edge. And I'm not going to have enough raisins, but there were all the raisins that I had. So when I made this to practice on Friday night, I used dark chocolate chips and raisins and candied ginger that I cut up really small. I thought it was delicious. Richard didn't like the combination of the textures of the chocolate and the raisins together. The other time I did raisins that I had soaked, and then I used orange peel in them. So you can be really creative. Like we could have put dried cherries in here or dried blueberries or a combination. So you can be very creative of what you put in here. And now I'm doing exactly what I did with the other one, is that I'm just rolling it up really tightly here. And if you lose some raisins, that's okay. So you'll see that some of my raisins popped out. That's fine. And you're gonna bring it all the way up, and you're gonna get this seam, and we are going to pinch the seam shut. And then we're gonna roll this out. We're gonna try to get it to like 36 inches. So really long, but I don't know if I can do it. So we'll see. When the raisins start really beginning to pop out of your challah, when you sort of know that you're as long as you can be. Now, she does not recommend this, but I do, is I think that you can make things much longer if you press them like this.
You're out of camera view. Oh, there you go.
Sorry. So I just sort of press it to make it longer.
What kind of surface are you working on?
I'm just working on my kitchen counter. This challah dough is amazing. I don't even have to put any flour or anything down, and it doesn't stick to my hands, and it doesn't stick to the countertop. Although when I did do it on the cutting board the other day, it did stick to the cutting board. So this is a little bit more, it's about 26 inches. And this, we're gonna do similar to the other one. We're just gonna spin it around. And tuck again the bottom. And then that's what it looks like. And this is what it looked like. Well, half of it looked like when it was baked. And this one I didn't burn the bottom up. So it turns out really pretty with the filling rolled in there. She demonstrated how you could combine your egg wash with saffron and make it a really pretty color. So I will put her video in there. And then I'm just going to put this onto my cutting board. sorry, not my cutting board, my other baking sheet. I do always put my challahs on separate baking sheets. Sometimes they don't get big enough to need to do that, but. And that is it. Anyone have any questions before we move on to Joanna?
I have a question.
Yeah.
I couldn't quite hear what you soaked the raisins in.
Oh, I soaked them in orange juice.
Oh, orange juice.
But I would have rather soaked them in amaretto or rum, because I like that flavor. But my husband's he doesn't like that flavor, so they got soaked in raisins, because otherwise I would eat the whole challah instead of half the challah.
Okay, thank you.
You can also plump them just in warm water.
That's usually what I do, but
yeah,
I was
it
interested.
just gives it a little bit of another taste to it. Any other questions? Okay, so now you are going to want to pin the one that says Joanna's challah camera. And then you'll be able to see what she's doing. Joanna, we can't hear you if you're talking.
I wasn't talking yet, but I was unmuting. So you should be able to hear me now.
Yes, we can.
Great. Okay. So I have two cameras. Right now I'm pointing to my challah dough. Everybody seeing that?
Yep, I think everybody's good.
Okay, good. Because it's risen since we checked the camera. That's why I'm asking. Yeah, it's bigger than it was. Are we good? Okay. So my challah story started, well, originally I was making the quote unquote traditional 3 braid that we learned when we were in nursery school and in grade school. And then about 2 years ago or so, before I moved to Pittsburgh, I started experimenting with challah as Torah study. What am I talking about? I'm talking about taking the week's parsha, the Torah portion, and interpreting it in challah. What the heck is that? This week is very exciting in terms of challah. This week is the portion Lech Lecha. And if you were at the WoTS meeting yesterday, I talked a little bit about it, but not in terms of challah. I talked about this week's portion is where Abram, before he becomes Abraham, before he became a Jew, he was walking with his wife Sarai, who is before she becomes Sarah, and he is saying, God, how I'm feeling like kind of a schlep. What is this? Where am I going? And what am I going to do? And why is this important? Now, I think Rabbi Corbin would probably laugh at this and say, I think that's a bit of a simple interpretation, but it's where I start. So every week I look at the portion and I say, what's my challah going to look like this week? Now, sometimes I do make a 3 braid or a 4 braid or a 5 braid. And I didn't do those tonight. They're beautiful, but this is what I do. I play with the dough. So tonight's challah is going to be an interpretation of the parsha. Tonight, I'm going to take you on a journey through the desert, and God is saying to Abram, this week, you are going to look up in the sky and you're going to count the stars. You're going to attempt to count the stars. Your descendants will be as numerous as the stars in the sky. Do you remember this portion? Is this ringing any bells? Lech Lecha. Debbie Friedman wrote Lech Lecha, in the land that I will show you. Remember this one? Okay, it's a great portion. I was so thrilled it wasn't one of those icky portions, you know, the ones, right?
The ones that Rabbi Corbin loves in Leviticus.
Oh, yeah. One of the icky ones. Those are the ones I call the icky ones, you know, like we're going to slaughter this or we're going to slaughter that, or everybody has their period. Yeah, those are not my fun challah. Okay, so I was really tickled. I was at my daughter's house watching the baby. I have a new grandson. I don't know if I told you that. All right, so here we go. And I got very excited because it was like, oh, it's a good portion. All right, so here's my dough. You all have my recipe now. I have no secrets left. All right, I just split it in half, no secrets. Okay, my dough recipe makes enough for 2 traditional challahs. So if you want chalot, so if you want to make, you know, the 3 braids, go ahead. You can do that and use my recipe. It's a good recipe. All right, I'm gonna weigh it. I don't have a fancy weigher. I was in Weight Watchers years ago. I have the old scale. Okay, I'm gonna weigh things just loosely. I'm not gonna get crazy because my interpretation here is it's interpretation, it's craft, it's not art. We're gonna eat it, but I do want it to bake evenly. Okay. Sorry, I don't usually bake with cameras on the counter. Okay. So, all right, I'm right where I want to be. And I'm going to take a little off. And that's not for religious reasons. That's actually because I want to do something with it at the end. All right. I'm not taking exact amounts off. You see, this is a big glob, right? You have to go in with a very open, playful mind. So the lovely thing about doing this on a Monday night, as opposed to later in the week, is that you have time to think about what you're going to do. Okay. Last week would have been good too with Noah. Noah is great to translate into challah. I'm not the first one to do this. I don't want to come across that way either. There's a wonderful Instagram account which started before I came up with this idea, called Lech Lechallah. Again, coming from this same Torah portion, she, her name escapes me right now, but if you go into Instagram, you'll find an Instagram site called Lech Lechallah.
How do you spell it, Joanne? I'll put it in the chat.
Sure, it's transliterated. So it's L-E-C-H, new word, L-E, Challah, C-H-A-L-L-A-H.
Okay.
She worked her way through, yep, exactly correct. She worked her way through the Torah as a Torah study. And that's exactly what I wanted to do. And so I didn't invent the wheel, but I came across her account after she had completed it. So I was kind of bummed because I could have done it with her and we could have compared notes, sort of. But all right, so this doesn't look as beautiful as what Mara has done. I'm also using, and I'm not sure what kind of flour you used in yours. I'm specifically using all-purpose flour. And the reason for that is I don't want to develop too much gluten. What's the reason behind that? A lot of bread doughs call for bread flour. And what you want is you want to build gluten. You want a higher rise for a more beautiful loaf. I specifically don't want that high rise because I want to create something more playful. I don't want something that's going to blow up and lose any detail I might want to put in. So I'm making this horrible looking snake-like thing that is going to rise, of course, because there's yeast in the dough, but it's not going to be as large as it could be. If anybody has any questions, Mara, if you could watch for that, because my
Yep, no
camera
problem.
was, okay. Okay. I'm working on a board that I use every week. So I'm working on and off the board. I've only been in this apartment a little over a year. It hasn't become my friend yet in terms of knowing how long I want things, but I've had this board since I got married. So this is my friend. You'll have to develop your own tricks of how long you want things. But for what I am doing today, what's in my head today, I guess I can go ahead and tell you what I'm thinking. I am thinking,
What are you doing right now? Because we can't
what am
see
I
it.
doing? I'm making strands. You got to start with something, right? So Avram is journeying in the portion. And so I'm going to do something out of dough, out of bread. We have to have some base, right? And challah needs some braids. If you look at my Instagram, I don't put all of my challah on there, but they almost all have a braid or two incorporated in it. Okay.
What's your Instagram?
Oh, my Instagram is Joanna Knits.
Joanna Mix?
Knits, Knits,
Oh, yes, sorry, of course I should have known that.
Well, if you spend 5 minutes with me, you'll know I'm a knitter. Okay.
When you start knitting the challah dough, we'll know you're in trouble.
Okay. So I'm making these, and I'm doing it very quickly. I'm trying to get through this, but okay. So this is the idea, right? We're going to make these lovely, long, very long, uninspired. They're very long. Hi, Yuval. Hi, Yuval. My grandson is 5 months old, and this today was his first.
Joanna, I think you're muted.
I don't know how that happened.
I don't either.
I'm back. Okay. Okay. All right. So my idea for this week was to do a journey translated into dough. Okay. My journey, Avram's journey, which was long. And if you remember last week with Noah, and now we're 10 generations down the road, I'm translating this into dough. Are you still with me?
Yep.
Okay. This is my task each week. All right. So now I have obnoxious strands. This is not pretty. The only tip I want to make sure, not only, one tip I want to pass along is the bread dough is finicky. The more you handle it, the less tender it becomes. So if I am making a very involved challah that is very artistic, if you go on my Instagram page, you'll see a sheep I did. There was a sacrifice portion, and I had an Oneg Shabbat that I was doing. And it was a beautiful gorgeous challah. But then I made a regular, quote unquote, challah that I barely touched. It's like when you're preparing ground beef and they say, don't handle the meat too much. Challah is the same way. Bread dough is the same way. Okay? Keep that in mind. But the reason I made the second challah was the first one was pretty much look, don't touch. I knew it wouldn't taste good. It wouldn't have that nice texture that you want. Okay? So try to keep that in mind. All right. So I have one very long, and I'm going to take it off and throw it here. All right, so this is one braid. It's not very exciting, right? I'm going to put it on my pan, which I use parchment on my pan. Nothing else. I don't spray it. There's oil, a little bit of oil in the recipe. It's fine. Okay, I'm going to make another one of these. And because this is a journey, and we don't always know where we're going on a journey, I'm going to put my braid the other way. Okay? This is all art. You can do what you want to do. So I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to make a third smaller braid out of the pieces. And I'm going to make them out of the strings and the dribs and the drabs. Sometimes we get lost on our way. Sometimes we go on a short route that isn't even, on the map. We go a different way. And I'm going to put that on top. Then I'm going to let it rise and do its thing. And it's going to grow a little bit, right? I mean, we want it to. It's bread. After that first rise, it's going to look a little bit different than this. We expect it to. It's going to be beautiful. These two braids that, pretend there's two of these, are going to have come together because I'm going to set them side by side. Unlike Mara, who wants her braids to be very separate, I want this creation to come together and be one. Okay, I'm encouraging that. I want one loaf of bread. So I could show you that on my phone. I took pictures earlier today. Hang on here. Give me just a second. Oh, really? Here we go. Okay. So let me see if I can get this to come up. That was the earlier today version. You'll see there's the two braids with the third braid on top.
Can't see it.
Yeah, you see it?
No.
Are you, let me give it to you in this camera.
Yes, thank you.
Sorry, I had it on the other camera. Okay. Whoops. Okay. And this is what happened after I had it in the or after it rose. So I lost a lot of detail. Okay. This happens, and you can't control for that. What are you going to do, right?
Joanna. Okay,
Yes.
everybody move to speaker view.
Uh-huh.
Joanna, show us that picture from your speaker, from your camera that you're on. It was
Okay.
easy to see there.
That was after my rise.
Is that a better picture for people?
It was disheartening. It's not pretty, but through the magic of television, did you see what I did there? I was trying to be like Julia Child.
Mhm.
I went into my oven. I got lost in it. Okay. Here is the challah. There are the kochavim. I cheated. It's play, it's craft. You can do whatever you want to do.
Okay,
Okay.
Joanna, hold it flat in your hands. Hold it flat in your hands and put it up towards the camera.
Here. How's that?
Yeah,
Can you see that?
it's back on, it's back on her challah camera.
Let's do it this way.
That is beautiful.
Perfect
Can
view.
everybody
Thank
see it?
you. Yes.
And are those just like, where did you get the stars, Joanna?
These stars are in a
Nice.
jar. They're here. And what you do is you brush the top of your challah, painstakingly setting each one if you want to, or you can, whoops, I have a paintbrush that I used for egg wash. Okay, and you brush where you want the star to go, and you put the star down, and then you move to the next one, or you can sprinkle like you put sesame seeds on. You can do whatever you want to do. This is play. What I'm doing, interpreting Torah and playing with challah.
Well, it is just beautiful.
Thank you. And it's tasty. So my neighbors walked in to play some ukulele with Michael, all masked up this afternoon. And they laid claim to this one. And then, of course, I have all this dough here. I'm going to stay up and finish this next challah and make another one, just like this one. And we'll have 2 chalot for the middle of the week that will need homes. So I think there's going to be a lot of French toast here this week before we get to the actual Shabbat. But this one was fun. I encourage you to do it. You don't have to follow the Torah portions to do it. You can use nature as an inspiration. You can use your own life. You can use your family. You can use whatever brings you joy, because that's truly what this is all about. And it doesn't have to be fancy, and it doesn't have to be correct. You know, if you miss a braid, that's okay. If you just want to swirl the dough around and slap some egg on it and sprinkle whatever kind of spice on it, do that. You know, this is your creation. And if it makes you feel good and it makes whoever you love happy, that's okay. That's okay. It's all well and good. It's tasty and delicious. So put a smile on your face, sprinkle some stars around. Yeah, it's fun and it's yummy.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Joanna. Does anybody have any questions for her?
And then it rises for about half an hour and then cooks for about 25 minutes.
That's how I do mine. I like to, let me show you. Mara showed her bottom. So, sorry, Mara, that wasn't very nice. This is
Yeah, we knew what you meant.
this is my bottom.
Good.
I tend to underbake instead of anything else.
Shoshana loves her when I underbake a challah and she can scoop out the raw stuff inside.
Oh, it's not raw.
There's nothing really better than that.
Oh, mine's not raw. It's just very light.
Mhm.
So yeah, I like them very light. So
That's the best part, is that gooey part in the middle.
Right. That's what Shoshana thinks. So
I like mine baked, but it's fluffy or it's fluffy or it's a sinker. So I guess there's different kind of challahs too.
absolutely.
Yeah.
There's, more challah recipes in the world than I think just about anything else.
Definitely. So, whoops. Yeah.
Well, I want to thank Joanna and Jan so much for sharing this with us today and their expertise and that.
Thanks.
It was really awesome. Next month, because Hanukkah is so early this year, we are going to do Hanukkah in November instead of December. And just like we did, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, we are going to do 3 or 4 kinds of fried pancakes, fritter type things. I am looking, if anybody has one that they really like and would like to demonstrate it, I am looking for people to help do the class just like this. We're going to do the fried stuff because it will be really easy to either do it on Zoom, or if we can be in person, we can do it in person and just up the amount and people can eat them afterwards. So I'm going to demonstrate a leek fritter that I made for Rosh Hashanah that was out of this world, and I'm looking for 2 or 3 other people. So if you have eaten one that you really like and want to introduce me to somebody who's made it, or if you do, just let me know so we can get that set up. If you haven't already, although I'm thinking that everybody here has, but if you haven't already filled out the Survey Monkey with the WoTS survey, I just put that in the link. We're really trying to figure out, we've been doing this for so many years and thought it was a good time to take a moment and just sort of say, hey, where do we want to go with these cooking classes? We sort of have the same 6 teachers over and over again. So who else could we tap to be teachers? So it's all those types of questions of what you'd like to learn and what you're good at and all those kind of things. So go on to the survey. It takes about 10 minutes to do. It's a little long, but it's really fun to look at all the different kinds of Jewish food that I listed. So, or at least I think it is. Anyway, again, I want to thank Joanna and Jan. Thank you all for coming. And we will see you next month for fried food for Hanukkah. Have a great evening, everybody.
Thank you,
Thank
Mara.
you. Thank you, Maura.
Bye. Thanks
Yeah,
again
thanks.
for letting me be a guest.